Emily Epp, Manager of Communications at the Cariboo Regional District, joined by Natasha Brosnitsky, Fire Information Officer at the Cariboo Fire Center, here today for our video update on September the 1st. And to start us off, we're going to get a bit of a weather overview from Natasha.
Yeah, thanks Emily. So today, in general, we're looking at high temperatures to reach into the low 20s and relatively light winds compared to what we've seen the last few days in the Cariboo Fire Center. However, tomorrow is looking like a challenging day. We are expecting to see a wind shift in the Cariboo Fire Center from predominantly south-southwest winds to a sort of more west-northwest direction. And along with those wind shifts, tomorrow we are expecting to see gusty winds in the Cariboo Fire Center reaching high speeds in some areas. So what that means, as always, we are likely to see an increase in fire behavior and containment lines could be challenged in some areas. Once we get through tomorrow, temperatures are going to start to increase, and by Tuesday we're expecting to see temperatures into the low 30s, so certainly quite unseasonable for this time of year in the Cariboo.
Thanks for that overview. And just an update from the Cariboo Regional District. Last night, south of Canim Lake, the RCMP did conduct some tactical evacuations as a result of that fire near Canim Lake there. And those residents are encouraged to go to 100 Mile House to register for emergency support services. We want people to know that the people who were immediately threatened have been already evacuated, and today the CRD, we're working closely with the BC Wildfire Service to determine if an official evacuation order is necessary for that area. So stay tuned, watch our Facebook page, our website cariboord.ca for updates on that today. And then Natasha, if you want to just give a bit of an update on the Plateau Fire for us.
Yeah, thanks Emily. So today I did want to talk largely about the Plateau Fire because the last 72 hours on this fire has there's been some change. So I'll start off with some of the basics. The most recent size estimate we have is 496,000 hectares. However, smoky conditions on that fire have made getting an accurate size difficult. So this size that I just said, the 496,000 hectares, is likely going to increase once we are able to get a better track around that fire. Today we've got 592 firefighters as well as 89 pieces of heavy equipment and 30 helicopters on that fire. And essentially what's happened on this fire is that due to strong westerly winds, there has been significant growth on the northeast side of the fire as well as in an area on the southwest side of the fire in the last 72 hours. So I'll point out just a couple of the areas we have seen growth in. So if you can see on the map here, we've got a finger coming up sort of on the lower southeast side, and on the east side of this finger, we've seen new growth of approximately anywhere between sort of 5,000 and 8,000 hectares come out here. There's also been new growth just below this finger, closer to the NASCO area on the northeast side of the fire. And growth in this area has been, again, estimated between 5,000 and 8,000 hectares. We are working to get accurate sizes for those growths, but again, smoky conditions making that difficult. The other area that we've seen significant growth on this fire over the last 72 hours is over here in the southwest area of the fire. Essentially in this sort of bay here, the last finger that comes out from the fire on the southwest, movement of the fire has occurred within this bay. And we're estimating that the size increase in this area has been between 2,000 and 3,000 hectares. So some significant growth in those areas. There has also been more minor growth in some smaller bays on the south, but the areas I just talked about are where we've seen the significant growth. The good news is that all of this growth has been within the contingency lines. It has not necessitated increasing evacuation orders or areas at this point. And it has not largely affected our overall strategy for how we're managing this fire. In terms of what's happening today and in the time we have here, structure protection specialists are doing further assessments in and ahead of the new areas of growth, and they will deploy structure protection as they deem necessary. Crews and heavy equipment are working in the areas, but their efforts will continue to be challenged over the next 7 to 10 days. Largely based on the weather that we just went over, some challenging weather ahead. The other thing I'd just like to highlight is that on Tuesday, there was a controlled burn conducted north of the areas of new growth. So the controlled burn happened just up here. It It was approximately 200 hectares and it was successful. It didn't escape, crews were on hand, and it was a success. So the new growth we've seen was not due to that controlled burn. The last thing I'd like to talk about with the Plateau Fires is just sort of to try and put what's happened over the last 72 hours into perspective. So we were estimating, those 3 areas, the total is a little bit hard to estimate right now because we are still working with estimates, but somewhere around the 15,000 to 19,000 hectare range. And when you look at the 10-year average we have in the Cariboo Fire Center, not including this year because we've had so many hectares burned, on average by September 1st, we've had 30,000 hectares of area in the Cariboo Fire Center burned. So just in the last 72 hours on this one fire, we've had at least half of our seasonal average burnt already. So it's just a reminder of really how unprecedented this fire season has been. And I think it's easy to look at the first day of September after what's been a long, unprecedented and eventful fire season, and that everyone certainly wants to be done with, and to sort of look at this growth and look at how big the fire is and say, that's not significant or it's unimportant. But for the people that are, directly impacted by some of this new growth, or they're now worried about, maybe this growth is going to continue, it certainly is still significant to those people. They may be wondering about livestock or structures. I know there are, some remote cabins, generally in that area, and it is still significant and impactful, even though it may not look like a lot, given how much fire we have on the landscape this year.
Thanks, Natasha. And yeah, that's a very good reminder just of what we have been through, and that we're still working to fight these fires. And I know BC Wildfire Service is doing their very best, and we're working collaboratively to make sure that people are safe. And obviously our priority is to get people home as soon as possible, but the top priority is always safety. So that's a great reminder. And just wondered if you could close up with maybe a bit of a long weekend message again for us.
Yeah, sure. So essentially it's not a lot's changed. We are still looking at high to extreme fire danger ratings. Likely a lot of those areas of high fire danger rating are going to move to extreme, given that there's no precipitation and hot weather. We'd like everyone to please, know before you go, know what's allowed in the area you're going to, by checking with the various websites we talked about yesterday. And when if you are, spending time outdoors this weekend, to just please be extremely careful with anything that could cause a fire, as we really do not want any new human-caused fires at this time in the year.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you have a great long weekend. We'll be in touch throughout the weekend. Stay tuned.